Hello. It's 8:05 p.m. on April 3rd, 2021. And I found something within the last 48 hours I did not know existed. I was trying to find information about cases that had been cited and an order that had been sent to me that didn't seem to make much sense until later. And I came across a case that was mentioned that I had not been previously told about. Houston Pipeline Company versus Oxy Petroleum Incorporated, 597 SW2D57, Texas Appellate, 1980. It was filed on April 3rd of 1980. That's 41 years ago today. It's also 38 years before I was kidnapped in Houston, Texas, under the auspices of a mental health observation, which was the second time in less than 10 years this had happened, and was refused release the day I was supposed to be discharged. I had been kidnapped 10 days before April 3rd of 2017, and sorry, it was 37 years, and I was supposed to be released on April 3rd in order to be able to make a court appointment that was to occur in the morning. I had met with an attorney who would come on site. I told her I had every intention of going to the hearing. I had evidence I was going to submit. And she refused to contact me, and they refused to release me until after 6 o'clock p.m. I missed my court appointment, and I have not been allowed to go to court for what happened ever since then. Today is the 41st anniversary of this case, and I've read this case. I just read the opinion, which was issued. There was a rehearing that was requested, and was denied 14 days from the 3rd. But what happened is in this case they discussed a contract between a company in California and a company in Texas, one based out of Bakersville, California, and one based out of Houston, Texas, to regard provision of tender in another county in Texas that also was anticipated to be the site of the delivery, which meant that that was where it was to be paid. This is important because I am on the public record. It's in my name. I wrote an article. It's dated for April 28th of 2002. It's called Journalism in Jenin, No Honor Among Thieves. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. The reality left behind by the Israelis in Jenin refugee camp defies even the most vicious imagination. One after another, the people of Jenin have been trying to tell anyone in the world who will listen what they have witnessed and lived through since the beginning of their most recent tragedy on April 3rd, 2002. Even though the Israeli checkpoints have been turning back aid workers, human rights monitors, and journalists, some have made it through, and as April ends, the horror of Jenin is left painfully visible for all who dare to look. If I recall, this date is correct. Remember, about 2 years ago, I looked at this and I said, maybe there's something about the dates I don't remember because of April 24th. April 24th, 2021 will be exactly the 25th anniversary after the passage of the Anti-Terrorist and Effective Death Penalty Act. This bill was a second version of a bill. It was actually multiple versions that were in the lineage, I guess you could say, of the final act. The act immediately before the one that ended up getting passed was sponsored by Charles Schumer of New York. But the one that got passed was sponsored by Joseph Biden. Joseph Biden is listed, at least currently, as the primary sponsor of the Anti-Terrorist and Effective Death Penalty Act of 1996. Prior to my travel to Palestine and Israel, I wrote an article. It was an article that was co-authored with a man who was a military veteran of the Vietnam War. And it was his idea. He was the one that brought it to me. He told me that he had been to a press conference and that he had heard the story about a Palestinian American in the Chicagoland area who had been kidnapped by the FBI. At first I said, well, this sounds very significant. This was if I'm correct, the spring through early summer of 1999. And there was a variety of matters that were ongoing on the city. I remember the layout of the paper. There was a court reporter. We weren't able to get pictures, but there was a court reporter and there was a drawing that was a courtroom rendering when he finally made it to trial. The man who was acknowledged in this article. Regardless of what you feel politically or philosophically about him, it's important to know that this incursion into Jenin happened 22 years to the day after that case between California and Houston. What happened on April 3rd of 2001? Because that would have been 21 years. And the Texas Constitution has a very, very specific section of the Bill of Rights that references things that are often defaulted to a 21-year time period. Why Jenin? Why did they pick Jenin on the 22nd year? It was called from Texas, wasn't it? It was called from Houston, wasn't it? It was called from private contractors in Texas. Were they already co-conspiring as part of that California biomed kickback per that MOU, which is completely unconstitutional? If California wanted an MOU like that with Israel, California should have seceded, and they should have negotiated it as a treaty, as a sovereign state. There are numerous things that Texas has done that it did not have the authority to do because it never seceded and declared itself a sovereign nation. Israel had no right to try to identify itself as having an authority to violate the constitutions of other countries to try to get them to co-conspire with them at crimes with this level. That's all I'm going to say right now. I'm on the record. They have not yet taken down this piece of history. I was there. I saw it. You can make whatever claim you want. I stand behind what I said. I also stand behind what I experienced with Ahmad al-Buzara. For over a year, he was slandered. They said he died in an ambulance. He didn't die in an ambulance. You don't get some sort of motor vehicle insurance kickback so that you can let his mineral rights be claimed by some country providing humanitarian assistance. That's not what happened. He was murdered so somebody could try to flip a deal on his life using what they did in Jenin. You had no right to betray my people with your treason. You need to call out the traitors. It behooves the nation of Israel to take responsibility for the members of organized crime that have infiltrated their government and have co-conspired with organized crime syndicates in other countries, including the United States of America, including the state of Texas, and including the state of California. If you have to call out the alleged political leadership of other states of the United States, then do it. And you better do it soon. We do not have much more time to mince around with this. This campaign has gone on long enough. It ends today.